Welcome back to the ATI podcast. We're in here for episode 144, and back with me are my friends, the lovely See You Next Tuesday. Drew and Jimmy are on the call tonight. How are we doing, gents?
Great. How are you?
Man, doing wonderful. I was really looking forward to having you guys back on the show. I always have a good time talking to you guys.
Yeah, appreciate having us again, man, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And for really good reasons, some of which were kind of surprises based on whenever we originally made these plans for you guys to come back on the show. So I'll be happy to get into some of that today. But,
yeah,
also wanted to pay you guys some due diligence for the work that you guys did release last year, too. Kind of a surprise for a lot of folks, of course. The Asymmetrics project, we'll be talking about that as well. But yeah, man, you guys have been busy as hell even since the last time I talked to you. What the hell? What's going on?
Yeah, still busy, too, so... Still writing tunes.
Man, you guys are incredible. That output has just been incredible, and the quality of it. And what we're really loving about this phase is all the collaboration. I mean, I know we had that conversation last year, Drew, with Relapses. Was kind of the intent and purpose of that album was to bring in other artists and see things through their lenses and remixes and that sort of stuff. But
Absolutely.
Now you guys are moving more into that collaboration phase where you guys are actually doing stuff with other artists in a creative capacity and creating and then recording. So that's really wonderful as well, man. That just excites the hell out of me as a fan.
Yeah, I'm elated by it for sure. It's especially just working with the METH dudes, in particular. They're such good homies, and it's one of those things where I wouldn't have written any of that if it wasn't for them. You know what I mean? So.
Well, I guess would kind of like to start things off there. How did the idea of Asymmetrics come together, and how did those plans formulate, and what artists you'd be collaborating with?
Yeah, it actually funny. It actually started with like a 3-band project. It started in my garage. Jimmy and I were sitting out in my garage. It was after practice, and he was tearing down his drums, and I was smoking weed. And he doesn't smoke weed, so he gets really high from contact buzzes. And
Bless you.
So we just started kind of brainstorming about something different for like a collaboration, because it's like I didn't want to do just a split where we write songs, they write songs, So we started kind of toying around the idea of this like musical chairs type thing. And originally it was like 3 bands where like one band did drums, then passed that along, and then they would receive drums from one of the other bands. So it was like a circle, like pass the drums, everybody, and then they write music over it, and then they pass that, and then the third band puts vocals over top of it. Originally, we were talking to Sawtooth Grin and the band Chipong, which, by the way, Chipong just signed to Relapses.
Yes, they did.
That track is so fucking awesome.
Yes, absolutely. Good show.
But yeah, go them. That sounds fucking awesome.
Hell yes.
But yeah, in a nutshell, it was really in its early stages of planning. I didn't really have like a solidified plan per se. Really just some ideas. I started tossing around the ideas with Chipong and stuff, and everybody kind of put their ideas in this hat, and we were kind of tossing around everything still. So it really hadn't came to any fruition. Like I hadn't really been writing anything. I did in the process had recorded Jimmy's drum stuff, just kind of recorded drums and was kind of piecing it together on my computer. Like I recorded him doing like random like loops, like blast for a few seconds and do some fills and some patterns and stuff. And then I kind of like was pasting it together on my computer to build some tracks. Kind of like was at the time my new formula almost. But then like some personal stuff was going on with Sawtooth Grin, and they unfortunately had to pass on the situation at the time because they were falling off. Chipong was just like, well, we weren't really thinking about being a band any longer anyway. So like I don't know, Shatis was kind of in the thinking he was going to be done with the band, which obviously they're not because they wrote
Right.
another album. But you
Right.
know how it is. You know, he's a
Sure.
family man and stuff, so it is what it is. So the project kind of just fell apart, and then I had these drum tracks, and fast forward a little bit, and I was hanging out with Meth. They were on tour with Yusuf Synapse and
Yeah.
Frail Body, and
Hell
they were
yeah.
playing this house show in Lansing, Michigan. And I had stopped out to see them because Frail, I've never seen Frail Body, and you know you can't miss that in a house show. So
Yeah. Yeah.
swung out there, and like it was a few weeks after the whole project kind of fell apart, and I was just chit chatting with Seb about it. And Seb's this, you know, super autistic dude, and he was just kind of latched onto the idea. So him and I kind of just hashed it out. I was like, yeah, let's just do two bands, and we'll just take the drums and switch the drums. So that's how we kind of like came up with an actual like plan of attack, where it was like, you know, we did 3 songs worth of drums. We're going to write music over it. And then their drummer, Andrew, recorded him doing 3 songs worth of drums and sent them over to us. And the only thing that we really wanted to make sure of is that we weren't sharing any ideas at all. Like, we really wanted to see how far off or how close we could be to each other's mark. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
Because obviously the drums don't hold any note value, they're just patterns. But I mean, like, there is this like level of cohesiveness. Like when you, I don't know if you listen to like the secret tracks where it's like the drums are down the center, and then you hear
Yeah.
like
Yes.
our versions of the songs in left ear and then
Yes.
Matt's versions in the right ear.
Absolutely.
So it's like, especially on the slower parts of stuff, like you really hear how everything's locked in. Even though we're playing in different tunings, we're playing totally different stuff. Like everything's locked in because the drums produce, you know, those hits, those stabs, you know. So it really, really was cool. That was like my biggest part of this is like I wanted it to feel like this kind of like human experiment almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it was like
Absolutely.
I really wanted to see how far off we could get from each other. And you know, it's super funny. Like, so on the A side, which is the Jimmy drum stuff, like the first track, our first track, at the end he's playing that like it's a 311 beat, that doo when I recorded it, I was accenting the kick drum. So I was following the kick drum with my guitar. And then when Meth's version, when I listened to theirs, they were accenting the snare hits. So when you listen to them together, it's like back and forth. And so
Yeah.
it's just
Very
crazy how
percussive.
it's like, yeah, we followed the same thing, but like we picked something different out each time. It's pretty crazy how everything was like so close, but yet so far away.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the panning and mixing aspect of it too. I was mixed down the middle for drums, but you know, you heard one version on the right and the other band's version on the left. Because I actually never noticed that until I actually put on some headphones this week just to freshen myself back up.
Yeah.
Because every time I listen to it is in my car, and you know, it's at work, and usually, you know,
Sure.
I don't hear as well in that scenario. So I threw on some headphones this week, and I was like, "Holy shit! I never noticed that this was mixed this way." And
I think
that's
there's
actually
a
makes it even more credible because I was trying to just listen to my left ear, just trying to listen to my right ear, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was a fun listen that way too. Yeah,
Yeah,
nice
it's
surprise.
I think a lot of people don't realize what that is because it's like, you know, the track ends and then there's like a little bit of gap that's like a silent something, and then like it all kicks in, and it's like I've had a lot of people that I talk to about it. They're like they've listened to it the whole thing, but they haven't realized yet what was going on. So it
Yeah,
was fun though. Like it sounds like chaos for the most part. But like on
in a
the
way.
meth side of things, like there's a lot of stuff where it falls together so well.
Yeah, and even like with the flying around and stuff, how it was panning
Yeah,
back and
yeah,
forth too. I was like,
yeah.
wow, that's really interesting. Just the detail and the sound design specifically.
Oh, thank you. It was actually a big pain in the ass trying to figure out how to do that.
Well, I bet, absolutely.
We were
Yeah,
trying to figure out what to put there. I know for our side.
Yeah. And then honestly, the idea of the flies was just the artwork that I used. All the artwork was like old just like pictures I found on the internet of like beat up faces. And then I cut it
Really?
all up and put it all together to make a new face. That was like the whole scheme of asymmetrics, the two sides of one face type of thing. Yeah, so I was just like, all right, I'm using these pictures of like corpses and like beat up faces and stuff. So it's just like, I'll just do like what is the sound of decaying human bodies and stuff. I was like, oh, let's throw some flies in there.
Sure. It
So
makes sense.
plus,
That
I
definitely
wanted
makes
it
sense.
really quiet. Like if you listen to it in a car, you don't even hear it because it's like the engine is louder than the little flies buzzing. But you listen to it in headphones, and it's like, zzz, zzz. Oh, and I put it really, really quiet too because I wanted people to like turn it up. Like, oh shit, why is it so quiet? And then all of a sudden it's like crack, 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 crack.
Yeah, when it first hits that, you're wondering, is the track over with? Well, there's more time, and then yeah, the first time I listened to the track, I remember thinking that, and then with the fly flying around and everything, I was like, boy, this is just kind of interesting choices, but it captures your attention for sure, stands out.
Hmm.
Yeah, thank you. Just kind of furthered the weirdness of it, and it's because like we shared the drums and we didn't change anything. Like, we didn't speed up or slow down or edit or change anything about it. So it's just a showcase essentially that we 100% wrote different songs over the same set of drums.
Right, absolutely. Uh, Now talk about the other band's involvements as well. So of course you've got the Red Chord contributions too.
Absolutely. Yep.
So how did they come into the picture on this?
Honestly, as funny as it is, when we released Relapses and we had Kyle Medina and Rich Lombardi do some vocal tracks on that record, sometime after we released it, I got a text from Guy that was like, "What the fuck, man? Like, we're back together. Why didn't you ask me?" And I'm like, "Well, shit, I'm sorry." So it was just like, I promise, next one. And then when we were finishing up these songs, like I remember texting Fox and being like, hey, we should ask Guy. He was, and sure enough, I texted Guy and he was like, hell yeah, send it to me. So I just re-recorded Fox's parts and then kind of like did some scratch tracks of what he wanted, where he wanted Guy to come in, and we sent him over to Guy, and yeah, it worked out great, man. And they're so cool too, just like the promotion side of it. Like they posted all these fun videos of him recording the parts and him doing the fucking wizard in the music video and like
Yeah, oh my God. That is
yeah,
awesome.
just everything about their participation was just like I couldn't ask for a better feature is what I'm getting at. Like they're
Yeah.
just sweethearts. So
Yeah,
The vocal outtakes were so good.
yeah. Yeah, it
My
was funny
favorite
because
part.
when we did that little run with them and Pig Destroyer last year, so this had been out for a minute at that point. Oh, it had been out. It was going to be out, but they had heard it and all that stuff. He had already recorded it, and I was talking about that video of him like struggling to come in on that part, and I was like, Fox did too. I had to put like a countdown for him in front of it.
That's funny. It's
Yeah.
funny. Well, that music video last year is one of my favorite music videos, period. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
that was so fun.
That was all Fox. He pulled together that one for sure.
Yeah, just like the Lord of the Rings parody aspect of it. And I got kind of like a personal pop just because, in our conversations that we've had in the past, Drew, we've kind of there's been mentions of just like, oh, all I do is get high and eat pizza. And so there was you guys eating pizza at the end of it,
Oh yeah, oh
So,
yeah.
You
I
should have
definitely got
seen.
high on that shoot too.
You should have seen the heads turn when we walked into that little hole in the wall pizza place. Like
Oh yeah, that was
there's like
funny.
these 40 and 50-year-old dudes that are like, what the fuck is going on here?
but also
We
don't
That
get the
was
just
town
fun,
over.
yeah.
I still had my spider costume on,
Mm,
and Rick
you know,
had his like that
yeah.
balding wig thing on.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about the
that was
aspect of you
fun.
guys walking into this establishment with the costumes, but yeah, I bet you guys did get some looks.
We did.
It was like a Sunday like dinner time too, so they were like pretty
Oh,
busy.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
felt bad for Rick the whole time because he was like naked basically for like 4 or 5 hours, and I had this giant like spider suit on, so I was like real comfy and warm. And then Drew and Fox had to wear these like Hobbit feet, like slip-on shoes. So their feet were freezing the whole time.
And it was a little damp on the ground too, so I was a little damp feet, but small sacrifice for such a cool song. So.
Oh yeah, dude, what an incredible video, man! That's if folks haven't seen that, I highly recommend it. In fact, we'll shove it in this interview for the YouTube
here.
version. Yeah, we're gonna make it happen. So I guess maybe my other question regarding the collab album here is how Nights Like These got involved.
It was Fox. I think it was Billy Bottom from Nights Like These. He was getting tattooed by Fox, so he was actually flying up. He lives in your neck of the woods.
Really?
You're in like Joplin area, right?
A little north of that, but yeah, I'm south of St. Louis, about an hour and a half.
Okay, I think he's over on the other side of the state in like Springfield area or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he was flying up here to Michigan to get tattooed by Fox, and Fox was just like, "Hey, while you're up here, do you want to be on these songs?" And it was kind of like a kickstart trying to just get Nights Like These to fucking do something because they were awesome. And they're kind of out there, you know, playing a few shows here and there. So it was really great, though. I mean, Billy, I got to record them here at the house too, so it was cool because like the lyrics for those three songs were actually mostly Billy writing. So he kind of like spearheaded the whole vocal section for that, you know, told Fox where to chime in and stuff like that. So, but it was cool having like both of them in my studio and be able to like have them actually feed off of each other. Instead of having like guest vocals, it's just like, okay, here's your line in this 2-second spot. It was cool to have them actually both there and sit there and like try different stuff and layer different stuff. So it really made those tracks fucking something else. So
that's a very unique situation. I can't say that I've heard too many times of that where you're going to have two vocalists collaborating, working together in that way in the studio for a session.
Cool.
That had to be pretty really awesome to witness and be a part of.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a ton of fun, especially because like they seem to be like-minded with writing, and like Billy kind of like laid out his direction for it, and Fox was there to be like, oh, let's use this word instead, and just that kind of stuff, just kind of picking and choosing what syllables work better here and there and stuff like that. But it was really the experimentation of being able to be like at the very last track, Ascend, there's this high scream at the end, and that's actually Billy. And I remember being there and being like, Fox did this kind of like mid growl, and he kind of sounded like Billy. So I was like, Billy, you need to do just like the highest scream you can possibly fucking muster. So it was cool to actually like be the producer or the engineer, and actually be able to direct them. Because like when Fox and I get in the studio and do stuff, it's, we get to actually play around and use different ideas and blah, 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 blah. Again, when you do a feature, most of the time when you send something to be for someone to do a guest spot on, you already have it planned out. Their spot's already done, and they kind of just, put their little sprinkle of flavor in. So it was definitely the ideal experience for doing a vocal feature for sure.
I can imagine.
Or collaboration, I would say.
Right. Jimmy, I got to hear what your perspective is. It's kind of funny. You recorded these drum tracks in a sanitized environment, really, and unknowingly they were kind of chopped and skewed, if you will, by Drew. Like, I would love to hear what your perspective is when you first started hearing the stuff that was coming together.
Drew and I have kind of the same wavelength when it comes to putting drum stuff together. You know, Drew is a drummer of the past, and he knows what he's doing, and he knows what he wants to hear. So he says, you know, give me this. He knows that I can deliver. So that's always a plus to be able to, I guess we'll say, shake hands on the matter of like, we understand what each other's wants are. And it was, I mean, I played drums for probably 8 hours that whole weekend, putting all that stuff together.
We did 2 days. The first day we did maybe 2 hours because we did all the setup and shit too. Like it takes time to set up.
I was gonna say,
tune a drum kit, mic up a drum kit, test all the mics.
Yeah.
And then the next day we did probably like 6 straight hours. Well, not straight. We took some breaks. But I mean, I remember after there was like a long stretch where we were doing all this shit with gravity rolls, and he was like getting a huge fucking blister.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
I had a hole in my right hand. I was like, and then did we practice that weekend too?
Yeah, we just ran the set. We ran the set. Yeah.
Because we were going out with METH the next month.
And Def Club.
Oh, wow.
So on top of like playing all these songs, we had to run our set, which is like 18, 19 songs for, you know, most of the time. And, you know, do that a couple of times. And by the time Drew left, I was like, I don't even want to look at drums for like like a month.
I hear you, man.
But it was fun. We're actually gonna do that same thing again in the summer. Try and come up with some new stuff and keep Drew busy.
Yeah, and we actually, even still, the session that he's talking about, which is recorded, when was that? January of 24?
Mm-hmm.
Recorded at his basement in January 24. Halfway through the session, we switched snare drums. So like the snare drum he was using for this split for Asymmetrics was the 13-inch with like a Kevlar head on it. And then we switched it for this DW Pi, one of those like little piccolo snares.
Yeah. Ping, ping, baby.
And then we did a whole other session of stuff. And that's still something I haven't used. I ended up only being able to make about 3 songs with it, similar to Asymmetrics, and kind of have some feelers out there for stuff, but nothing come to fruition. But there will be a little 3-song something coming out at some point.
Wonderful. Well, that excites the hell out of me for sure.
But yeah, and then we're talking about doing some more stuff this summer, and just keep writing music, keep pushing my brain till it stops again.
I know you're just casually throwing it out there, but man, you guys have been on a lot of incredible shows too since the last time I've talked to you. You know, you just mentioned that little run with METH and Def Club in particular. How was that for you, gentlemen?
It was awesome until I got stuck in Canada.
How'd you get stuck in Canada?
Well, we played Kitchener up in Canada, and we took separate cars because Drew and Lauren were going to take all of the gear back to Bay City where they live, and I was going to take and I was taking Fox and Rick back to Lansing, and we went to get in my and so I went to get in my car to leave, and I parked against the building where there was this huge security light, like much like my desk light is giving me right now, and had the car warming up, you know, because it was wintertime and freezing, and went to back out, and I had no lights, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? So we like pulled over, and we're trying to do everything we can, like, and they all went out.
Oh my God.
So all I had was high beams or the
running
yellow
lights.
Running lights.
Yeah.
So you couldn't see shit unless you had your high beams on.
Oh my God.
So it was probably a 2-hour drive into Canada at that point, like from the Michigan border, like from the border. And I was like, it's midnight, and I'm not going to try and drive, 2 hours to the border with my high beams on. And then they're going to be like, can you turn your high beams off? And then didn't want to get stopped and asked questions. So
absolutely,
we stayed at a hotel and got some sleep. And it actually turned out to be for the better. We got some sleep and got up the next morning and then drove home during the daytime when we didn't need lights.
Right.
And but that sucked.
Well, I know that whole Canadian border process can get hairy, and some of the things that they like to
because
not let people in for occasionally as it is.
they were already asking enough questions about like, okay, you're playing with a band called METH.
Yes, right. I bet.
And we were like, yep.
Yeah.
We were trying to just be like, we don't want any problems. We just want
honestly,
to.
it wasn't that hard getting back, pulling back into the States. It's usually because we all had our passports and stuff, so it's pretty much just like, hey, we're American, and you know, at least it was. You know, this was last year, so
sure.
I'm putting that in quotes because I'm not even sure last year existed at this point.
Yeah, I hear that, man. I'm sure that process might be changing soon.
Yeah.
Christ.
It was. Yeah, I think it was. It wasn't too bad getting across.
You guys were separate though, because we played Chicago, and stayed in Chicago, and we all rode together in Chicago, and then we played Grand Rapids the next night, and then on our way to Kitchener is where Fox lives, so we all just met at Fox's, and then where I live is north of where we were going to be, so we're just like, you guys drive separate. Lauren and I'll take the gear into Canada. So when we went across, we're the ones that had the gear and stuff, you know, the trailer filled with merch and all that stuff. They just had a car and a couple dudes and some instruments, so it wasn't that bad for them. Thankfully, you know.
That's one thing I don't miss about being in a band and driving with band gear is anytime that you did get pulled over, and if you had an asshole cop and they wanted to go through the vehicle and pull all your shit out. I had to do that one time. I was left driving a van full of gear, and that was a hell of an experience as a young man and not knowing better as well.
We definitely took care of anything that could be questionable.
I hear you.
Like I had a box cutter in my car. We're like, we're gonna leave that here.
Yeah.
You know, like just random, just nothing to question. We didn't have it.
The first person that like showed up at the show, I was like, "Do you got weed?" I came from America. I didn't. I left it all in America.
Yeah. I don't blame you, man. That's exactly been on my to-do list as well.
It's legal. It's legal up in Canada, but it's really, really fucking expensive up there.
Yeah, for sure.
It's basically free where I live. It's like
that tour
grows on tree. It grows on trees, you know. So
yeah.
That tour in general, though, was really great. You know, the guys in Def Club were so nice. You know, obviously we've been pals with METH since the year before, but you know, just getting to like hang out and kind of just be in the presence of something that Justin Pearson does is
legend.
Truly
legend,
like
for sure.
And for me to get a compliment, you know, of how great of a drummer I was from him was monumental. Like that was something I didn't expect, and he was just so kind. He even like I was like, I don't want to be that guy, but I want to be that guy, but could you sign my Plague Soundscapes record, because this record means a lot to me? And he goes, but why would you want to ruin it with my signature on it? But yeah, I'll sign it for you. So he personalized it for me, put a little saying out of one of the monsters with the butt for the head, and signed it for me. He was super nice, and their drummer Scott is one of the nicest dudes in the world.
He plays in the band Glassing as well.
Yeah, Glassing is fantastic as well.
It was funny because when we got into Canada, it was just my wife and I. My wife always comes with us, and she does our merch. It's just her and I driving through Canada, and it dawned on me that Lauren didn't grow up listening to this type of music, so she didn't know who the Locust was. And I was like, Google Justin Pearson, Jerry Springer.
Yes. I love that was your introduction for her.
I made her watch the whole episode on the drive.
That's awesome.
She was like, I have so many questions for this guy.
Did she ask any of them? I wanted to.
No, she was too scared.
Yeah.
So he's not. I mean, he's like the sweetest guy ever. But like from afar, he just looks like a cool dude. That's hard. Like he's not the most approachable guy because like he's fucking cool. He's a cool looking dude. He just exudes cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I don't think I really talked to him until the second day. Oh, it was funny because the first day we played at the Talia Hall, and there was this whole issue with like the production that was like setting the thing up, and like Seb was the promoter for the show, but it was their CD release, and like everyone's kind of running around with their head cut off, and no one knows what's really going on with like how the stage is going to be set up. And I'm just like, all right, everybody, just like let's chill out, let's take 5, stop playing meth, just like let's talk. And then like I was just like, who wants this? Who needs this? Who does this? And like figured it all out. And then like the show continued, and everybody knew who's using whose backline and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then the next day I was at the second venue, and I remember Justin coming up to me and being like, I thought you worked at that venue.
That's fantastic.
This was like, I came in, it was just like, hey, everybody, listen up. This is what's happening. He's like, you just fucking walked in and owned that shit.
We had to do a lot of, there was a lot of like last minute changes for the first venue. We all ended up having to share the same drum kit. We all shared Andrew's drum kit, which wasn't a big deal for Andrew and Scott because they both play a 4-piece kit like normally, and I'm used to a second rack tom, and I just had to make do, which is fine. So we had to kind of like throw some things together like at the very last minute because they were like, well, I thought we were sharing gear and there's not enough like, room in here. And
Meth was literally sound checking. Well, like Yusip Synapse, or I cannot say that band's name. Anybody know?
Synapse.
There it is, Yusip Synapse. Well, they were like bringing gear in, and like I thought everybody was sharing gear, and then like there was this issue that like one person didn't want to share gear, and like it was like this whole debacle, and like nobody was just like communicating with each other. Everyone's just kind of screaming while Meth is sound checking. So it's just like I was just like, shut it down, like let's fucking figure this out. Like doors are in an hour.
Drew was like, time out.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Well, good for you for taking the bull by its horns there in that situation for sure. And
it's just my brain. It just does that.
I hear you.
I even if I didn't want it to, I would be the one that would take charge.
It worked out because that venue in particular has a massive stage. Like we're talking like a 6-foot tall off of the ground stage. And then I don't think it was originally in the plan to even be up there, but we ended up having a like 2-foot riser stage in the middle of the floor.
And so people could be surrounding us.
And we had a gigantic circle pit going around the stage for us a couple different times, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That ended up being one of the coolest productions we've been part of for sure. That was fun. That was all Seb too.
That's very cool. The sound of that almost gives me kind of the vibes of whenever bands would play like in old skate parks or like old like swimming pools, like for municipalities and stuff too. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Very cool.
Heck yeah.
Drew, what was that one thing that we were maybe gonna do, and it was like with Belushi Speedball? Where was that? It was like Skatopia or some shit like that. Was that?
They sent us a video of them playing this like skate park thing, but the show that we were supposed to play was at like a bar or something. But we ended up having to cancel that because it conflicted with the Pig Destroyer Red Chord tour, and that was like a no-brainer. We had to accept that no matter what. So
the last comment I want to make about that tour with Def Club and Math too is what a nice variety, man. And I love whenever packages come through like that, you know. It's you know, it's all heavy music at the end of the day, but none of you guys sound like each other. You know, you guys are all doing your own thing sonically.
Absolutely.
I love tours like that. You know, that's just some of the best shit out there.
I think us and Meth have a really good vibe together. You know, we're polarizing metal, but we both have that like wall of dissonance, you know. Like it wasn't that hard for them to write over top of blast beats. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that they're doing makes sense fast or slow kind of thing. And then Def Club is obviously, you know, it's Justin Pearson, so let's fucking go.
Yeah. I mean, I love all that shit that he does with what is it, his grandma? Like those videos?
Yeah.
Where he listens to records and shit and shows her music and they talk about it, and man, so cool. Those are wonderful as well.
Yeah, very cool.
I love that.
Well, guys, I got to jump to more recent events, of course. I I got my hopes up a little bit because I know you guys originally were on that Oceano tour and you guys had a St. Louis date, so I was hoping to get to hang out with you guys finally.
Yeah,
Sorry,
for sure.
buddy.
But
We'll be that way someday.
Yeah, and I'll be there, as you know, whenever you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I know there's a statement out there as to why you guys did that and all that, and it's very understandable if anybody takes the time to read it. In the event that people haven't read it or are not aware of the reasoning, the sound reasoning.
Yeah, what's the story?
Yeah.
Well, to be totally honest, we took the tour because it's Oceano. Growing up, where we came up around the same time as they did. Obviously, they got exponentially larger of a band and stayed together for longer throughout their period that we took a big hiatus and stuff. But we don't necessarily mesh well with deathcore stuff, I guess. I don't know, especially some of the more modern symphonic stuff that's going on. It's not necessarily the type of stuff that we're geared towards.
Right.
So I was a little bit apprehensive at first, but I mean it was Oceano, and we knew the shows were going to be good, and they offered us a decent guarantee every night and stuff. And this was before we even knew any of the other bands that were on the package. And the guy booking for it is a friend of mine, and so all the routing was great. Everything just seemed to be the right tour for us. So everything was fine, and we're getting ready to announce this thing, and we get the flyer, and we they post the flyer up, and then a couple hours after I think it was it was within
quick.
the first day. It was pretty quick.
Yeah.
But this guy, Chris Galian, basically he posts his version of the flyer and this big elaborate story about how he was commissioned to do the artwork. He submitted the artwork, and they said that it didn't make the cut, and that was the end of it. And then next thing you know, they used a flyer that was strangely similar
coincidental.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, purple is the color they use, and it's a farewell tour, so I'm sure death to some degree is a scheme of things. But so we were apprehensive about the whole thing, and then the fact that they didn't even credit the artist that did it or even talk about what artist did it. There was a lot of speculation on the internet that it was done with AI, and not that we're pointing any fingers and saying that it was or wasn't. Suffice it to say, we alerted our booking agent, who messaged the booking agent, and obviously Oceano, and I ended up getting on a phone call with Chris, the booking agent, and Adam. Because I wanted to do my due diligence. Our singer, Chris, he called that Chris Galian guy. They had a phone call. So we heard 100% what is his side of the story. I got on and heard Oceano's side of the story, and without getting too specific into detail, after we heard both sides of the story, it was a clear choice to drop the tour for us.
Okay.
Ethically.
Well, and yeah, in your guys' statement as well, you made a point outside of just it's the right thing to do that you guys are connected to or directly have folks in your band that do either graphic design or in the arts,
all of us are artistic, but two of our members are tattoo artists that make their livelihood off of commissioning artwork. They get paid to draw something and then tattoo it on you. And AI is real for them. They, in their field, they are constantly having people bring in AI work, or they'll get commissioned to do something, and a flyer or a poster or a t-shirt design, and then someone's like, oh, AI can do it for this guy does AI, he can do it for $50. How much are you going to charge? Well, not $50. This is going to take me 12 hours to draw. So it's just for people that don't do artwork and don't realize that type of situation. I mean, I literally I remember saying this to Adam, actually, where it's imagine if you came to a tattoo artist and put a 10% deposit down, and they drew up a design and then emailed that design to you, and then you canceled the appointment but took his artwork and took it to another tattoo artist and had that other tattoo artist tattoo it on your leg because they were going to tattoo it cheaper when that artwork isn't even yours. You know what I mean? So it's just your idea extrapolated out of someone else's mind. And I'm kind of going on a tangent at this point, but for people that don't live that, you know, they could look at the situation and be like, oh, that's kind of silly. Why would they drop a tour over some poster? But to us, it's principle. You know what I mean? Like, two of our members have literally lost income because of similar situations, and it just doesn't align with us. And, you know, honestly, the response was pretty positive for us. You know, a lot of people respected the decision we made. And, you know, it's not like we're not breaking up. You know, they're the ones that are breaking up.
Right.
So it's like there'll be another tour for us. You know, sadly, we're not necessarily in a position to be hitting the road as much as we'd like right now. And that was kind of like a stretch for us as it is this year. But yeah, I mean, we will still hit the road. So anybody that, you know, was bummed that we're not going to see us on that tour, well, I rest assured we'll still be hitting the road at some point and playing some shows and stuff. So
very good. Well,
I did think it was funny that we were replaced with a Squella grind, though.
I thought that was so bizarre. Actually,
it was
bizarre.
It felt to me poetic, just because like I don't know those ladies and dudes. I don't know them on a personal level whatsoever, but outside looking in, they're of another band that happens to have a lot of drama that follows them. But to me, it felt kind of poetic that was the band that was our replacement. So
yeah, I thought it was a really bizarre move, knowing some of the recent news that they had received as well. But
they'll still sell tickets, so it doesn't matter.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, what I'd like to say about the situation from a fan perspective is it's nice to hear that, you know, people that you like, musicians that you like, bands that you like, will make decisions based on principle and won't soullessly go into things for money. I mean, like you said, you guys had a good guarantee, you had good routing. The situation was right outside of, you know, stretching you guys personally to make it work around your own personal schedules. But, you know, it wasn't like you were going to do it for free. There was something to gain there in that aspect. And that's something that you guys turned down that you probably could have used as well. So, you know, I commend you guys for standing on principles.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, at the time, and thank you. And I mean, it goes without saying that the shows would be successful with or without us on it. So I mean, like it sucks, you know, playing in front of, you know, a packed room is really awesome. You know, there's nothing else in my life that has replaced that experience. So it was a hard decision, you know, but it was a decision we knew. Like I said, it was pretty crystal clear to us. Once we gathered all the information, it was pretty clear to us that it was the smart decision to make. So
the last piece I'll say on it is the fact that it was good that you guys took the time also to consider both sides and what they had to say too. Like, I think people make knee-jerk decisions and they don't, you know, do the due diligence that you guys did in that scenario as well. So I always encourage folks to take that path too.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate that.
Well, wasn't too much after that. You guys had some more positive things to move on to, of course. And so we're celebrating some recent anniversaries, you know, 20 years as a band, 18 years of Parasite, and then the amazing cover with the collaboration with Crippling Alcoholism as well. So first off, congratulations on the anniversaries, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's crazy to think. Yeah. It's you know, it's crazy to think, you know, once upon a time, you know, I was playing bass and I picked up a guitar for like the first time. And I mean, I'd played them before, but I like bought my own first guitar instead of a bass. And Andy was our first drummer, and like he had played drums before, but he was a guitar player. But he went and bought a drum kit and we started fucking jamming in his living room at this house he was living with 5 hippie people, and we just started. I mean, literally, it started as a joke. That's the weirdest part, you know, is we just wanted to write like generic fucking breakdowns, like as cheesy as possible with like stuff over blast beats, and then like, you know, you fast forward like a year. Because that was like probably late 2004, but we didn't really like become a band, I feel, until like I wrote Eight Dead, Nine If You Count the Fetus, you know, like it was that song that was like early 2005, you know, the beginning in 2005. And when we put out the Summer Sampler, which was summer of 2005, you know, those three songs were really like, okay, I guess this is what we're going to be known for.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be kind of surreal in many ways for you, Drew, in particular, to think, you know, back that it's already been 20 years of, you know, kind of toying with this concept, this creative palette. I'm sure this is probably an obvious answer to this question, but you know, 20 years ago, could you have conceived that you would be doing the things that you're doing today?
No, for me, no.
Being a mailman and married with two dogs. Ah.
I love you for that. I love you for that.
Not necessarily, but if you asked me 20 years ago if I was going to be in a band that toured the world, I would have said yes. Because honestly, like when I felt like I figured it out with this band and did like those three songs and started like touring on those songs a little bit, and like people started like giving a shit about us, and like, you know, we put these songs on MySpace and people started like putting them on their profiles. I don't know, like I was determined, you know what I mean? I was determined to make this something. Like I was really, I guess proud of myself, you know, like I'm proud that like I was able to spit out that much cohesive music.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hey,
Hell yeah, dude.
there it is.
Love it. Love
Not for fucking sale.
it.
We printed like 1,000 of those things. I remember ordering them from like discmasters.com or some shit.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Selling
They
them for
look-
like $3 at shows. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
these are great.
I was determined for sure to do something with this band. So, and, you know, it sucked that we had such a run of terrible events in 2010 that just made us want to quit. Because, you know, we were nothing for 12 years. But it is what it is, you know. Like I found myself again, you know.
Well, I'm sure you could look back on that, you know, that time that you took away or step away. You know, maturity is a hell of a thing. You know, you have to kind of go through some shit in life sometimes to get things back in focus. And you
For
know,
sure.
I'm always, anytime I get the opportunity to talk about, you know, the comeback stories, some of my favorite comeback stories. You guys are always in the conversation whenever I talk to people on here.
Well, thank you.
And
Thank you.
you know, it's just awesome, just the positivity you guys have been able to generate, giving a lot of love, sharing a lot of love.
Yeah, thank you. I'm still 4.5 years sober too, so well besides
Well,
this, but
hey man, good to be commended on that too, Drew. Man, that's a hell of a battle and journey that you're on there. So
Yeah,
props all the
the
way, man.
other cool thing is too. I think that the bonus of it, and you know, we're talking about the collaboration and all that stuff. I think it's easier now as a band to have more creativity and maybe output, because you know, people can record in their homes more easily now, and like that's what, you know, Drew decided, like, you know what, fuck trying to find a studio, I can do it here at my house, or we can record at your house for things. So it's like the output is easier to do. All you have to do is say, okay, Jimmy, what weekend do you want to do this? And it's like, we schedule that weekend, we get together, we put the shit together, and you know, he takes it back and works at his leisure, which is, you know, literally every moment that he's not being Mr. Mailman. And
or hanging out with my wife and my puppies.
yeah. So it's a lot easier now to just be like, you know, you don't have that pressure. I mean, you do, like, you know how like some drummers get like red light fever.
Yes.
Of like, you know, trying to like, okay, well, I only have like 8 hours to do this in, and we're paying this dude like $400
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
We don't have that worry or have to worry about that. So that's, I think, the really great part, because, you know, being in this band for the last 3 years, like, you know, it's cool to have putting my stamp on stuff now. And, you know, this release was my second release of doing something on. And, you know, it's, I think what Drew and I collectively, and I think even as I could say this for the entire band, is, you know, we just want to put out cool shit and just, you know, keep pushing the envelope of being not an ordinary grindcore band. So
absolutely,
It'd still be fast. It's still, but still have like a fast and intense output for sure. Because even with Relapses, you know, all those electronic songs, like every one of them has an intense vibe to it, you know. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you guys have definitely been able to maintain that. And it's just really incredible to see the quality of the output. You know, you talked about output, but the quality of output too, you know, that's, you guys are to be commended for that.
thank you.
Just, I just love the intriguing choices. And, you know, even like going back and talking about relapses, there was just such a weird continuity still yet in a through line. And that's evident here even now with some of these recent collaborations that we've talked about tonight. And even getting back into the Crippling Alcoholism cover of
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Paraphilia.
didn't.
But,
Yeah,
you know,
that was awesome. Tony did such a fucking cool job
oh
on
my
that song too.
God, man, what a haunting vocalist as it is, but you
Yeah,
know that album last year that they had as well, man, super
so good,
incredible album.
so
I
good.
got to that one late, man, but that was so good. That was one of the more profound albums in some time
Yeah.
as well.
You know, it's weird because sometime I think it was 23, I did like a guitar feature on a Sterling record, the band Sterling, and then Crippling Alcoholism did a feature on that record too, and I didn't really listen to them at the time. I remember seeing their name on it, and I remember listening to the Sterling song when I listened to the record. But it wasn't until man, maybe half a year, 8 months ago or so, I got into shit. What does she go by? That Haven or Heaven girl that's now in the band. Um, her like what is it called? Oh, Bottom Surgery. Have you ever heard of that?
I
It's like
haven't
this,
actually.
yeah, it's like this really like fucking loud noise core, like
Okay.
programmed. It's like the loudest record. I had it on my like rotation playlist. I have a playlist that's like all the stuff I listen to regularly. I had to take it off that playlist because every time the songs came on, they were like 10 decibels louder than what I was listening to. I still listen to it all the time, but like I got really into her stuff, the Bottom Surgery, and then I saw they joined Crippling Alcoholism, so I was like, I gotta listen to this fucking band. And I was like, holy shit, this
Yeah,
dude can sing.
yeah.
Like, holy shit, man. And cool as fucking dude, too. I just messaged him out of the blue. I was like, hey, I don't know you, but hey, you sing great. Um, you know, honestly, like that acoustic, all the music for that, I recorded over a year ago. We were gonna release that last year for the 17-year anniversary, but we just couldn't figure out who to do the vocals on it. We actually tossed around the idea of asking Will from a second story window, but then he quit from a second story
Yeah.
window, so we're like, well, that sucks. And it just kind of kept getting tabled and tabled and tabled, and then yeah, I found Crippling Alcoholism and just I listened to that record like every day for a month, and
Right.
I was just like, I gotta just ask this dude. But he did a great job. I mean, it's such a
Yeah.
hauntingly psychedelic feeling song, you
Right.
know?
Their vocals are almost kind of like the only thing I could kind of associate it close to would be like right off the top of my head is like Mark Lanigan, I guess maybe, or
Yeah.
you know, from the Screaming Trees, maybe something like that. But yeah, it just had a haunting beauty, raspiness there. It's one of those things like when you hear that voice, that voice is the thing that always sticks with you.
He's
I
got
think
such
that was
a low register too. It's crazy.
I think that haunting is like the overall like most common, I think, for like the comments that we got. I think that would like
Yeah,
really just hold the like what the described the vibe of it,
Yeah.
which was really cool.
yeah,
And I agreed with you about Mark Lanigan. Like that's very like Screaming Trees, like
yeah.
Like
you
kind
know,
of this stuff with Queens of the Stone Age, even to a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
would be kind of closer
Yeah.
adjacent.
Hearing
It's
that
great
dude
stuff.
sing, hearing that dude sing Precious and Grace with the Queens of the Stone Age, the ZZ Top cover,
Yeah,
was like the coolest shit ever.
dude, cool as fuck. Cooler than the other side of the pillow, man. Gone too soon. Man,
Ooh,
what an incredible talent that guy was.
Yeah.
indeed.
But yeah,
No.
man. So, how did you get Crippling Alcoholism to do the vocals on this track for you?
I just messaged him on IG and was like, "Hey, I did this
Cold calling.
acoustic. Yeah, just cold calling people. Just fucking I just
Hey,
messaged
you
him
got
and
any vocals over there?
I was like,
Hey,
"Hey,
this is true.
do you want to do some vocals on a track?" I was like, "I did this acoustic version," and I sent him the version. Like I said, I had it already recorded, and it was just sitting in my Dropbox, like waiting for somebody to work on it with me. But yeah, I sent it to him. He was like, hell yeah, when do you need it by? I was like, well, we want to release it for this anniversary on April 3rd, so I'd need it, mid-March-ish. And he was like, sure. And this was like February,
Okay.
end of February.
Relatively quick turnaround.
When was I at your house, Jimmy? That show was like March 8th, right?
Yes.
It was like a week before I was at Jimmy's house. Like it all kind of came to fruition like pretty quickly. So
Oh yeah.
we ended up getting it all together in time. And then like the music video, another thing was just like I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I kept racking my brain like I want to do something that like, it's this big anniversary, and I kept thinking about like Parasite stuff and like the artwork from Parasite, and all this stuff kept running through my head. And then I was just like randomly was just like I remember calling Jimmy and like telling him the idea. I was like, is this a good idea? What if we had somebody just rip all the YouTube videos that they could find of us over the last 20 years and like put it all together? Jimmy's like, yeah, great idea. Absolutely. So I called Mike, the dude that did the Lord of the Rings video for us. Same videographer guy, which anybody out there, hire him. Crush My Bones is his IG. It's just
Hell yeah.
Mike Hartley. Absolutely just super cool dude. Put that video together in 1 week.
Wow.
And yeah, just absolutely cool. And way better than my expectations too. Like some of those, like how when I hit that open A on the track, it sounds like thunder almost. Because it's my guitar, and then I exported the audio of my acoustic and ran that through my Euro rack, and that's where all the swishing effects and filters and stuff are. And I recorded that back into my computer and then layered the two tracks together. Like every time that low A hits, it sounds like thunder striking. And Mike did such a good job of like having the headbangs of the crowd and like all this like hard footage, but like it just was so synced up in such a cool way. But yeah, and then
that
he did that
first one
collage.
Yeah.
And then
That
we
was
did that.
awesome.
Yeah, then he put that collage together, and I was like, oh, we need some Adam Payne and some Adam Karpinski, some like old members in there. So we got everybody that was in the band at some point in this band was either in video or in photo in that
That's
video.
awesome.
So yeah.
What an awesome tribute.
Yeah, he did the YouTube, took all like the different videos from YouTube, and I sent him a shit ton of pictures, and I have a ton of videos since I've been in the band of like tour stuff, like random, like just filming dumb shit that we're doing, and some phone footage from like the shows that we did when we went on tour last year in the springtime, which is funny to say that that's almost been a year ago. We were like, I think it's like what, a week, and we would have left. I think we left like the 17th or something like that. And I sent him a ton of stuff. He was like, I'll just make a drop or a Google Drive, and I just went through my phone and just like have this big massive thing. I was like, here you go, Mike. Like, here, go through all this shit. And I mean, he nailed it, and he put, I think, literally everything that I gave him into it. Like,
yeah, there was so much footage that like everything, like the metal injection, that back booth in Orlando video, like a bunch of iconic videos of ours for sure. Like a lot of people and it was cool to see, Bear in there, and a video of Rick from when he was in the band the first time, and videos of me with a shaved head, and Travis and Cooter, and
it was so cool. Loved it.
I got to ask you, what are we on to next? What are we on to next here? What can you talk about?
I got 10 songs written right now for something.
Oh yeah.
Well, so I'm still working, and like I said, I got all those drum tracks too that were sitting around.
Drew, they're gonna start calling you the guided by voices of the grind industry with that put out.
I know, man. I don't know what's that Andrew guy from what is it, Horcado Grind Time or whatever, that anime grind. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like a one-man band.
I don't.
You're alone.
I can't think of the Hokkaido. It's like Hokkaido or Hokkaido Grind Time, and it's like anime themed gore grind. Anyway,
awesome.
that dude, Yeah, it is really awesome. You know the band Rip to Shreds?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, Andrew from Rip to Shreds, his other band, he's in a one-man grindcore band. He plays guitar and does
Okay.
vocals. He records all the drums. Super talented dude.
Hell yeah.
He puts out records constantly, so I don't think I'll ever beat him. But yeah, I'm trying. Again, I really like doing this collaborative thing. You know, working with different musicians, getting to have different opportunities, different ways to tackle creating music. Like being able to have like just right over top of Jimmy's drums. That was something new for me, versus how I did distractions or how I
Right.
wrote in the past. And just pushing those boundaries. So all this stuff to come, for any fans that are wondering what's next for See Next Tuesday, expect more collaborations for sure. Unexpected ones, hopefully.
I like the sound of that. I
Yeah.
always love when the bounds get pushed and we break down walls and we bring in other people from other genres and schools of thought. Some of the most beautiful things can come out of that chaos.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Hell yeah.
As for shows, we don't have much to offer.
Well,
yeah. Well, we're playing next month with Wormrot, so that's gonna be super fucking cool.
Hell yeah, absolutely.
But we need to. Unfortunately, we need to figure out a better vehicle situation. We don't really have something that's as reliable as we need it to be, and we realized that doing that big run last year that was like 16 days, fitting 5 people into a RAV4, pulling a U-Haul trailer that breaks, and just like everything that could have gone wrong vehicle-wise, outside of my vehicle actually being stopped running. But I mean, like we had electrical problems. We blew a ball bearing out on a trailer. We had a leaky trailer. It's just a bunch of shit. But yeah, it is what it is. Like we're still entertaining any shows that pop up and stuff, but it's just tough. And cars aren't getting cheaper. That's for fucking sure.
Nope. That's one thing there. Yeah, you're right about that. What a lovely state we're in.
And we're still trying to like go to places that we haven't been. Like, we've hit the Midwest fairly hard in the last 3 years, and we want to get back over to the East Coast and go more north than New York, and even maybe down that way too, and try and see some
obviously California is on our list, but again, I mean, even the vehicle situation we have been using, we couldn't cross mountains with. It's not conducive to just dump money into a vehicle that's not going to do it, not going to cut it.
No, that's totally understandable.
I feel like if we just keep putting records out, and because we're currently in that position where it's like we're big enough to where we can draw some people at a show and people would actually book us, but not big enough to where we could make enough money to justify buying or taking out a loan for a vehicle. You know what I mean? So it's like that perfect like in between gray area. So it's like maybe we'll just keep putting records out, and if we get big enough to where we could actually make some money on the road, then hopefully we can throw down some cash and get a vehicle.
Yeah, and it's not like rental options are always the greatest when you're talking the size of vehicle needs and all that stuff too. So
yeah, it's impossible. It's like you get paid $500 a night, and then you have to pay 240 plus miles on a van and feed everybody. And it's like by the time you do all that, it's like
it starts to cut away at the budget for sure, big time.
You got bills back home and stuff. We're all old, so.
Oh yeah, and you're missing your day gig while you're doing
we're
this
not.
too.
We're not Spirit Box, so we're not gonna fucking fill an arena.
Well, gentlemen, I'm really looking forward to any opportunity that I get to see you guys finally. I've been chewing up those live videos that I've seen being posted online and everything. Looks like everybody's having a fantastic time. You guys always put on a good show too. So
we try.
That is the experience for me when I go to a live show. Is I gotta have that band producing that energy that you guys bring, and it gets the blood pumping.
Thank you.
We'll be in Chicago. I think that's the closest we'll be to you is Chicago in August. That's
okay.
Yeah, with From a Second Story Window and He Who Corrupts, which I'm really looking forward to.
That should be fun.
That's another sick lineup for you guys, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for what the future holds for you guys. I know that there's more to come, and as everybody knows that follows us, that we'll be sharing details as they are released. You know, anytime you guys post up a new little run of tour dates, we like to try and share those across social media just so people are still in the loop. And once a guest, always a guest, in my opinion. So we're always going to keep people filled in on you guys, and where we can follow these gentlemen at will be in the episode details. So we'll have links to all their social media to stay in touch with them, the Good Fight listing to maybe purchase some See You Next Tuesday goods that are still in stock, physical media and merch and all that fun stuff there too.
Yeah. Go buy our records.
Please.
Please buy our records.
Absolutely. And
actually,
as a consumer,
I think
they sound fantastic.
Asymmetrics is like, we pressed 1,000 copies, and outside of what we still have as a band to sell at shows, what's available on Good Fight's website, I think there's less than 100 left.
Oh, wow.
So if anyone wants to buy that record, it's technically it's two EPs. Side A and side B are two separate EPs. And yeah, man, it's grab it while it's still out there for sure, because it's the packaging, like everything about it just turned out so cool. I love it so much.
Yep.
Yeah, if you folks aren't following Good Fight on Instagram in particular, they do giveaways occasionally, so I can speak to that.
Oh,
yeah, you guys follow them on social media, and you guys can get awesome shit too.
Yes.
Just finger gunning away.
Drew, Jimmy, man, thank you guys so much for your time tonight. It's always a pleasure, always a good time.
Absolutely.
Always happy to catch up with you guys and
Thanks
see where
for
you're
having
at in
us,
life
Barrett.
and what you got going on. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Hello, this is Barrett from the ATI podcast, here to talk about the MANIC Compression Group. The various podcasts that make up the MANIC Compression Group include ATI Podcast, Waxing On with R&J, Nod Narb's Closet from Ed Ozen, and It's Just Two Movies. The MANIC Compression Group is a voice for the voiceless, a platform for those dream chasers. The various creative arms of the MANIC Compression Group all have one goal in mind, and that is to bring a spotlight to underground artists and amazing artistic works. ATI Podcast, hosted by yours truly, focuses in on interviewing rising artists, content creators, and small businesses. Waxing On with R&J, hosted by brothers Ridge and Jake Jackson, gives love to physical media. It promotes purchasing physical media as a means to support artists, album reviews, details on production and audio quality on various formats, all with the end goal in mind to give some love to some amazing artists. Outside of the physical media love, you're going to get reviews on recent concert viewing experiences as well as local show calendars. Nod Narb's Closet focuses in on miniature painting, the D&D world, role-play games, as well as various niches in the hobbies of 40k Warhammer, Dungeons & Dragons, and tabletop RPGs. Led by Brandon Stewart of Ed Oz Inn, Nod Narb's Closet brings attention to the many talented people involved in the hobby. It's Just Two Movies, hosted by Dan Key in a rotating guest panel, covers just that, 2 movies. One critically acclaimed or favorably viewed, and a secondary movie probably not good, but the hope is that it is so bad that it's entertaining. Sit back, enjoy some libations to the velvety tones of Danny King and guests with an injection of jocularity and improv comedy. The MENIC Compression Group can be found across all podcasting platforms, but the full experience can always be enjoyed on YouTube. We thank you all. Stay safe out there.